This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, the left's heart of darkness. Ladies and gentlemen, the last couple days or weeks I've been involved in some quote-unquote debates and dialogues with leftists about Donald Trump and the election coming up. And there's a few phenomena that always enter this situation that I want to talk about. And I want to begin by telling a little anecdote from my Russian family upon Stalin's death. In a previous generation in our family, there were two women in my family in the previous generation. And when Stalin died, one of the women was crying, sobbing with grief. The other woman was very happy and ecstatic and ripping pictures of Stalin and throwing them into the toilet and flushing them. And the other woman that was weeping and sobbing was reprimanding the woman that was happy and ripping Stalin's picture and telling her that she was wrong and that Stalin, what a beautiful God, etc., etc. And at one point when she reprimanded the woman that was celebrating, she said, "Stop it. You're going to get us all arrested and killed." And this is a story in our family that we often discuss that happened with these family members. And it's a fascinating phenomenon that the person within the totalitarian environment who supports a particular figure and says that the other people are wrong, in the end is very fearful and reprimands the truth teller by telling them that you're going to get us all killed. So the person is afraid of punishment, but yet thinks that he or she is supporting the good people. There's a certain schizophrenia here, and other pathologies. And I'd like to just use this example because this completely applies to the left in our contemporary culture. I know so many leftists who call me names, they call conservatives names, they call Trump supporters names, and yet they themselves are absolutely terrified to be conservatives, to change their mind, because they will be punished by the people around them. Very interested in this phenomenon. So let me just bring up an example. Usually I try to avoid arguing with leftists. It's a waste of time because really this is just about narcissistic identity and it's belonging to a social community. That's what leftism really is. It's about the feeling of self-satisfaction and all the self-aggrandizement that comes from believing that you're saving the world, and they don't really care about people. But let me just say this. In the last couple of weeks, just discussing Trump with some of these people, while they're calling me names and insulting me, and while I'm giving them the facts, I'm telling them, if Hillary gets in, for instance, she's, in the pockets of the Saudis, the millions and millions of dollars the Saudis have put into her campaign, into the Clinton Foundation, and what this means in terms of Huma Abedin being connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, becoming chief of staff, the catastrophe this represents for our foreign policy and for our country, etc., etc. While I'm involved in these arguments, I can see the terror and fear in the eyes of the people I'm arguing with. Because you see, for them, they like to call me names, they feel good about being for Hillary Clinton, but they're terrified to agree with me. They're terrified when I begin to bring up the facts, because the more facts I bring up, they begin to think, oh no, I'm agreeing with Jamie, I'm becoming a bad person. What if the other leftists hear me talking to Jamie? What if I commit a thought crime? What if I become, oh my God, if I agree with Jamie and become a Trump supporter? And then the horror enters their mind. And I've said this to a few leftist acquaintances of mine. Why do we even bother arguing? Because if I convinced you today of, let's say, of why Trump is better than Hillary, and you ended up agreeing with me, how many friends would you have left? What would happen to you in your social community? What would happen to your job, your career, whatever it is? And they know I'm right. They know that they themselves are terrified at the persecution, at the ridicule, at the hatred that they will be exposed to, and the targets that they'll become in the left, because the left is completely unforgiving to dissent when you don't follow that one party line. I thought I would just share that with you today, because over the years I've been called so many names, I've been insulted, I've been ridiculed for many of my conservative beliefs, and yet these people who are calling me names are absolutely terrified of their people in their community, and they're terrified of agreeing with me, because if they agreed with me, their whole identity, the whole way they see themselves, the whole way they like to be seen by others comes to an end. And they would have to leave their community, they would have to make a whole set of new friends, and their lives would just become a wreck. And that's why we have so much respect for the leftists that did make that journey. They're very few, but the leftists that did make that courageous journey out of the left. One of them is David Horowitz. Read his memoir, Radical Son. This book changed a lot of people's lives, but the people who are in the left and have the courage and nobility to leave that movement for the truth. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure many of you know these people, these leftists that are arguing with you and calling you names, but they squirm around in the mud and the filth of their community, and it's all about narcissism and the self-satisfaction of seeing themselves as the redeemers of the planet Earth, when in fact they're supporters of a very, very destructive movement, but they're terrified of the criticism and the excommunication they will face if they actually agree with you and your conservative views. Thanks for joining the Jamie Glazov Moment. We'll see you next week. Good night.